Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man podcast. My name's Rory Paquette. I know you already know that, but I just like to remind myself of how lucky I am to be sitting in this chair. Folks, what you've been doing since we went to 5 days in publications has been absolutely amazing. The sharing, the subscribing, the downloading, it's been just I can't thank you enough. So thank you so much. I'm grateful. We recently, this week, made the move to going 7 days a week so we could include some more solo episodes. Because I know you guys are missing me sitting here in a dark room, drinking a scotch, thinking about all this stuff and sharing those thoughts. Now you're going to get them. All right. You're getting them back. It's not just going to be interviews for a while. So you're going to be in good shape. Anyway, so I'm looking for you guys to step up one more time. Feel free to send me DMs about how horrible I am or about how much you hate IU, whatever it is you got to do. Your DMs have been fantastic, and I will continue to respond to each one of them personally. So be aware. All right, folks, if you're a friend of the program, and I know you are, then you know what time it is. It's time to pay a couple of bills. So let me take a sip of my preferred beverage. Man, good stuff. Just made this super hot. Absolutely delicious. You know what we're drinking. At Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram, it's Freedom Hill Coffee. That's right, folks. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. Absolutely fantastic cup of joe. They brew a mean bean. They do a great job. And they do all the right things for all the right reasons, including supporting veterans. And you guys know how important veterans are to us here at Power of Man. A huge portion of our listenership are veterans and first responders. We love you guys. Thank you for your service. As always, you are welcome here. All right. We love you. Folks, go check them out. Freedom Hill Coffee, at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. One more sip so I can keep up with this young buck on the other side of the table from me. All right. This guy is like tailor made for our podcast. I'm telling you, like right now. Okay. This is a business owner, a father, a grandfather, a husband, an author. All right. Author of the book Learning to Be Me, Lessons and Perspectives. Please welcome Derrick Henderson to the show. Derrick, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me on. This is a awesome experience, and I really look forward to sharing some insightful information for your listeners, and I hope that they get as much out of it as I do. I really love the opportunity to share insight, particularly for me starting out. I came from a place where I didn't feel comfortable really having one-on-one deep conversations with people. I felt like that was something that we kind of needed to stay away from. So in my book, I talk about a lot of the opportunities that I kind of could have been exploring more if I was aware. And in the last year, I actually went through a men's health or a men's self-help group,
Sure.
and I found that everybody else was going through the same things I was. And here, all this time, I was telling myself, it's only me. I'm the only one that's going through these things. I'm the only one that's feeling these things. And I know a lot of people, as I've explored this and as I've talked with people, um, they feel the same way. And so many of us get caught up in feeling like we're alone, like we can't speak up or we can't speak out about things that really matter to us because we'll be judged or somebody else is going to think of us a certain way and we're trying to project a special image out there and we get so caught up in our own heads worried about what everybody's going to think that we lose ourselves. And that was kind of the gist of what brought me to the book, Learning to Be Me, because I was so caught up in getting to the next step, what I was going to accomplish next, being a business owner and starting out, trying to get that going, and then devoting all my life to that, and then kind of missing out on opportunities with my family because I was so invested in pursuing my business that a lot of times I was missing out on great opportunities to connect with my family. And it sucked, to put it blunt. And looking back, I missed out on a lot because I was so busy trying to be what I thought I needed to be. Everybody wants to be the greatest father.
Yeah.
and then we don't get there. And then we start looking back at all the opportunities that we missed, all of the things that we could have done better or the things that we wish we would have done better. And then we beat ourselves up about it. And then we get farther into our heads. We start neglecting other aspects of ourselves, trying to fix something else. And it was it was a journey to get back to myself and get comfortable in doing stuff like this.
Yeah,
Before this would have never happened.
I understand. There's a lot of guys listening to this right now who are just nodding their heads, going, "Yep, yep, I hear you, I hear you." Was it just over time you finally realized what was happening, or was there an event or something that kind of shook you up a little bit and said, "Hey, I need to pay more attention to me, to my family, to who I am."
Well, definitely going through the program that I went through, it opened my eyes because I was in a small group with other men and we got to bounce ideas off each other and we had a coach that walked us through some processes
Yeah,
and got us back in touch with ourselves. And that was what I found as I was talking with these other men in these meetings. We had so much in common. We were going through almost exactly, slightly varied, but the similar circumstances. We were feeling a lot of the same things and not feeling like we were enough or not feeling like we could do certain things or being so committed to our business that we're doing something else or trying to accomplish something else.
yeah,
And then never feeling like we can take a break.
right.
There's a chapter in my book called Sleeping Sundays. And it was a realization I came to that, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to not have all the answers. If you're in that space and you need that time, having a day of rest is perfectly acceptable. You don't have to constantly be doing something. You don't constantly have to be trying to achieve the next big goal and investing all your time into trying to get to a next goal that you just move the goalpost. You get there and then you're like, oh, well, now that I'm here, I need to get this done. And you don't even celebrate the small wins you have in that moment. You never take the time to appreciate, I know I can say for my own, all of the things that I achieved to get to where I was. Um, Getting this book out and getting it organized and published was something that I didn't realize what I was getting into. It was a lot.
I understand.
And
Yeah,
and it was definitely something that was a passion because the more I engaged with people, the more I had conversations about how life was affecting me, and then hearing reflections back of similar circumstances from other people, and one-on-one conversations, I was like, I need to present my information to more people than just these one-on-one conversations. What I'm saying, everybody's telling me they needed to hear that. They wanted that information. They needed to know they weren't alone. They needed to know that it's okay to not feel like you got it all figured out and to not have to go with that illusion of trying to create a scenario or a perfect situation to be able to appreciate life and enjoy life. And that's what I try to encourage on my Facebook group as well, um, because everybody needs something. Everybody needs something to inspire them. They need something to engage them. And sometimes it's just a matter of the right perspective. Sometimes it's just a matter of figuring out what's really going on behind the scenes. A lot of times we react out of impulse and we do things out of habit from things that we've grown up dealing with or we grew up with. And so in doing that, present a certain image to the world and we behave in a certain way based on our past experiences. And when we can get down into more of the root of what's going on with why we're doing that, um, it really is a positive way to shift forward.
Hmm.
And one of the exercises I go about in the book is the why experiment. And so the concept behind that is when you're experiencing a strong emotion, you go into a little self-reflection and you try to remember the first time you experienced that emotion, whatever it was, whether it was overwhelm, whether it was anger, whether it was frustration. And I go through a whole example in the book of the scenario playing out. And once you reflect on that, you go, why? Well, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Why? Well, my family's in ruins, or my wife's mad at me, or the dog just crapped on the floor for the fifth time today, and I'm trying to get it trained. All of these things can trigger us to things that have been under the surface, bubbling, brewing, like your coffee. Um,
All right.
from all the years and all our past, and when we start diving deeper, what I encourage is after you've gone back to the time you can think of, and you're reflecting on that, ask yourself why, and dive deeper each time you answer that. You can do it on paper, you can do it in your mind, you can do it on recording, so you can play it back later and listen to it. But okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed in this moment. Why? Well, the dog just pooped on the floor. Well, why does that bother me? Well, I don't feel like I have control. Well, why do I need control? Well, because somebody's got to train the dog. But why does somebody have to train the dog? Well, it's not going to learn if it doesn't get trained. Okay. So why do you feel like you have to do all of it now? Well, if I don't do it, then nobody else is going to do it. Well, why is that? Well, because it's my responsibility. Why is it your responsibility? Well, I it was partly my idea to get the dog, and the family wanted the dog too, but I got to be the one to do it. I got to be the one to show them how to do it. And then we keep processing that, and then we end up in a place where well, when I was a child, I felt like I didn't have control of a situation. I didn't feel like I could really um, train somebody else or help somebody else or lead somebody else. So now I have the opportunity to show that I have those capabilities now. I have the control of that situation. And if I can just convince this dog that it needs to go outside and go to the bathroom, then I can satisfy that childhood urge to be able to help people
Hmm.
or train somebody or something like that.
So you're taking it deep, brother. I mean,
Yes.
that's where this goes. You're going like several layers deep on where this stuff is coming from. The Now a lot of guys go through men's groups, and self-help things and everything else. I applaud you, by the way, for going through one. That's amazing. The But not everybody comes out of them and says, "Hey, I'm going to write a book about
Sure.
myself and what I went through and how other I can help other guys to, make these same transformations and question these same things." I mean, I hate to ask the can question of, so what led you to write the book? But I mean, seriously, how do you come through that and then say, for the first time ever, I'm going to go ahead and write a book? Because that's a big step, man.
Well, to be honest, it was not my first attempt at writing a book. It was just the first
Oh,
organized and actually um, thought-provoking um, process. Like I had a unified theme. My first attempt at a book was like a random bunch of gibberish, basically. It was 15 years ago, and I was just piecing together any random thought and then saying, "Okay, here's a book."
okay.
But when I got through this program, I realized that there was a inner me that needed a lot of this information a long time ago. And there's a lot of other people that could benefit from knowing what I learned through all these hardships that can actually benefit them. And so I wrote the book from the perspective of talking to my younger self and having that conversation about all the things that I wish I had insight on. And there's so many times in our life we get to a certain age and we're like, I wish I'd have known then what I know now. And that was my goal with putting this book together,
Nice.
was to provide that insight for other people to learn now instead of having to wait to reflect on the future or in the future of what they wish they would have known. And I've been able to explore the book with men and even women. I gave copies to my sons, um, and everybody gets something out of it. I had a client that came in to the business, and one of their comments was that they just opened my book. I had a sample here, and they just thumbed through it, and they opened to a page, and they're like, "Oh, I needed to hear that. That was it." They opened to the page, and I got something from just that page. Then they flipped to another page and said, "This is what I've been trying to tell my son for all these years. He needs to get your book too."
Nice. So can I add that to your total for today? It's on your invoice. Here you go. Definitely sell that guy a book. I love that you brought that up too, that you're servicing men and women through the book. Because one of the questions I had, I got to read, the excerpt, of course, on Amazon before this. I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing yet. Full disclosure, planning on it though. It was just a small part I read. I loved. So now you went through a men's group to kind of have
Yes.
this awakening yourself. And I know you do that type of work also, but your Facebook page was the first thing I saw, and that doesn't seem like it's aimed at men. It seems like it's aimed at anybody who needs help. So the
Yes.
book is the same way, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes. Yes. So I have found that it's helped people from all walks of life. The primary goal was men in the 30 to 50 range, but also women in that, kind of the people in midlife that are going through a lot of changes and trying to find who they are now.
Hmm,
Like that was me. I'm 40 now, 41, and I did all these things. Now my kids are out of the house, and I get the experience of grandkids, which is awesome.
that's cool.
And
Congrats.
yeah, I'm ex- that's my favorite part of the experience. When somebody told me a long time ago, if I knew grandkids were this much fun, I would have started with them. Yeah,
All
I
right.
get that. But
Awesome.
uh, but yeah, so I've really had that experience with myself and got to enjoy different aspects of things, but I wanted to get back to enjoying myself, enjoying
Right.
life. And that was a process. And it's a continuous process. There's no one size fits it all or one small solution that's going to solve it for everybody. And I think that's where we get caught up in ourselves.
Yeah.
We want one bulletproof solution. And when that doesn't work, we think we're a failure. Or we think, well, I tried everything that everybody told me, but have you listened to what you know inside? Have
Mm,
you dove down into what actually matters in life and what your true values are? That's a big thing. A lot of people don't know what their values are, so they let other people tell them.
mm,
And when you do that, you don't actually get to show up as yourself. You're showing up as somebody else because you're honoring somebody else's values. Some people grow up in
mm,
certain places or certain groups, and they take that mentality throughout life and never question it. And that's what I try to do with my book is encourage people to question not only who they are, but why they are who they are, what their values are. and what truly matters to them, and then bring that into their life. And then they get to show up authentically as who they are because they know what their values are, they know what matters to them, and that really makes a big difference.
Interesting. And I know that one of the things I saw in your bio was talking about being authentic in a fake world. So that
Yes.
seems like that's kind of where you're going with that. You feel like most people are not really authentic with their values and that type of thing?
Well, I don't think that it's necessarily a conscious choice. I think some people are doing it subconsciously because they grew up in this surrounding that fostered this particular perspective, and they just never questioned it. They never thought about like, why am I doing this? Well, that's what I grew up, that's what was modeled. Like some people have issues with anger and frustration, and they might erupt in a rage in an instance, and they might just think that's who they are. But when they get into why they feel that way, well, are they feeling that way because they don't feel like they're heard? Are they feeling angry because there's some level of sadness behind it that they're just not getting to manifest? A lot of times for men, and this is particular to men, we were not taught that it's okay to cry. We were not taught that it was okay to hug another man. It was almost treated like you were weird or homophobic or something like that, or
Right.
if you did that. And so we grew up a lot of times experiencing a lack of intimate connection, and not from a place of sex, but from a place of real, genuine connection. So a lot of times men have this lack or this feeling of, I can't reach out for help. I can't tell somebody what's really bothering me because I got to be strong. I can't speak what's true to my heart because then I'll be vulnerable. And then I can be perceived as weak, and I can be perceived as less than. And we create this story that doesn't allow us to be true to ourselves. Because if we're hurting and the only thing we're comfortable doing is lashing out or screaming because we're not being heard, and then the other people that we're screaming at are not receptive to what we're saying because we're coming from that rage place. And so they back off, they get scared, and then in our minds, we still weren't heard, we're still frustrated, and we didn't get to release that information. That was one of the most powerful aspects of being in a men's group. I would encourage anybody that can do it to do it, because if you can find other men and you can have these type of conversations where you can be genuine with each other and tell each other what's really going on in your life, you can really unravel a lot of trauma. You can unravel a lot of deep feelings that you held back, especially if it's a safe um, group. One of the things that I also talk about in the book is a sounding board. And this concept is around, there's different podcasts that go over it, but it's around the concept of having a healthy person to have these conversations with. And if the person is not a safe place, if it's your buddy that you just have beers with, you might get to have one of these conversations when you're a little intoxicated and nobody really remembers it the next day. But the ones that actually make a difference are the ones that you can have when you're sober. Um, and not everybody's a safe place for that. Some people are not in the right place to be a sounding board for what's emotionally going on with you. That's where a coach is really handy if they are in that place, because they can give you some insight from having been there and coached others. But it definitely helps to have that. So one of the ways you can assess a sounding board and another person is, first, do you respect that person's opinion? If you don't respect their opinion or their perspective, then that's a no-go from the start. I
Right.
mean, you could be best buds, but if it's a hard no on any kind of emotional vulnerability, then that's not going to be a good place to have that conversation. It'll just be something that gets brought up and, a push button thing to antagonize you later.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately puts a lot of men at apprehension of expressing themselves
Right.
because I'm going to say something and then I'm going to be the butt of every joke after this. Honestly, that was my thought processes. Like I felt like if I expressed any kind of vulnerability, that's going to make me weak. Now I'm 250 pounds. I'm 6 foot one. I'm not a small guy, and weak just doesn't come to mind. But in actually having those interactions to be vulnerable as men, um, and I'll caution this as well. One of the things is you need men to be vulnerable with. You need same-sex people that are going through the experience to be vulnerable with. Women usually have this in spades. They can have these conversations with each other. They can tell each other every little thing. But men, it's not a go-to. It's not a staple. And a lot of times, me included, we get to a place where we're the only man we're having a conversation with. It's just
Right.
us. And everything's happening in our head, and we're telling ourselves all of these things that are going on and happening, and how everybody else is perceiving us in our head. And we never get that feedback as to how we're actually perceived. And that's where having another man to go, hey man, you're being a prick. Or hey man, you know, it's okay to feel like crap. You've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Or I understand that dealing with the dog poop all over the house is annoying, but it will get better. You can you can build on this, and having somebody to let that out. Then when you go back to your family, you're not bringing all that frustration and energy back to your family. When men have these conversations together, we can have conversations about pretty much everything. And we're not going to go walk away from it and feel miserable because we can differentiate between having that conversation and diving into an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
So it really makes a difference.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on the men's group aspect of it because, for men, I think you hit on so many great points just now. The one of the biggest issues is we need to be able to talk to people who aren't going to judge us, right? But as soon as you know somebody personally and you know you're going to see them at the bar or you're going to see them on Christmas, you're going to see them at the office, there's too many opportunities for that conversation to come back, in a joking fashion. There's no separation, you know. And when you have an online group, of a bunch of guys who are all just trying to let stuff out and get good feedback and then go on with their lives, there's an anonymity there. Even though
Yes.
you know each other and you see each other, I'm not spending my whole day with you and my life with you. I'm only
Right.
seeing you in the men's group. So we can handle the men's group stuff. We can be brothers for each other, and then we're out. We go our separate ways. There's no repercussion of,
Right.
somebody, give me grief later on about it. So there
Right.
is a lot of power to being in a men's group. I'm glad that you found one, and I'm glad that you're an advocate for them. I think there aren't enough of them out there
Right.
for sure.
And I think one of the aspects of it that makes it more detrimental is that a lot of times when men are grouped together in situations like that, it gets interpreted wrong. Like people think it's a ego trip or a toxic masculinity type situation,
Right.
and it's not. And when everything that a man does is treated from a place of that's toxic or egotistical, we automatically go back into defense. We have to explain why it's not. And then we just seem like we're mansplaining at that point. And
Right.
so it's a double-edged sword. And so having safe places to have those conversations, it really does make a difference. And I think over time, you can have or you can develop conversations with people that you can trust. Like the sounding board concept is literally that. This is
Mhm.
somebody you can trust. It's not going to go back and blab to the world everything that happened. It's just a conversation you have between the two of you. You're bouncing ideas off. Hey, this is going on with me. What do you think? Um, or Hey, I've been feeling this way for a little while. Have you ever experienced that? And when somebody can say from a genuine place that, yeah, I have felt that way, or I have felt lost. I didn't know what I was going to do. And okay, well, what did you do? And when you can come from that place and say, well, I found groups to help where I was connecting with other men. I found places to speak out where my voice was heard. That's another concept. If you are constantly barraged with the same information over and over again, if somebody's coming to you with the same problem every day, like as men, we can get frustrated hearing the same thing. Like we've already logically reasoned out and fixed this problem. Why are we going over it again?
Right.
And sometimes it takes diving into those things deeper, but you have to have that space to do it. And sometimes people just want somebody to vent on. And if you're in the place to accept somebody venting on you, then that's fine. If you go into that conversation, sounding board theory, telling them, I just need to vent, then they know that we're not here to solve problems. It's just to let you vent. And if we go into the conversation and I'm looking for answers or I'm looking for inspiration or looking for some insight, then that is also something we can express at the insight or the beginning of the conversation to really dive deeper into it. But sometimes we just need somebody to listen,
Yeah.
and other times we need to be heard, um, or
Yeah.
need to have that conversation. So it makes a difference.
I like that. While you're advocating, that men look into men's groups, it sounds like the book helps men or women, also it helps people to prepare for those groups by
Yes.
questioning themselves, kind of get the ball rolling on, thinking a little deeper, asking the
Yes.
why, so that when you get into the group, you're not sitting there going, now what? How do we do this? Right?
Right.
You've done some work and you have an idea of how to start. Does that sound
Yes.
accurate?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes. Yes. It makes a big difference. It's kind of giving you the tools to get started, like
Yeah,
giving you the tools to hopefully be a better person,
right.
or connect with people better because you're not going into it with these preconceived notions or these preconceived thought processes. Like it has to be a certain way, or it has to be uh, a specific type of uh, conversation or a specific type of relationship. There's more about that in there too.
All right.
But I love having conversations about this stuff, so it's an enjoyment for me.
I love that. I mean, obviously, I don't want to give everything away from the book. We don't want to give away the secret sauce
Yeah,
because people need to buy the book
yeah,
if they want to
yeah,
hear
they
it,
do. Yes,
But,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there is
Get it
one
on Amazon.
that's right. Hey, hold that up again for me, will you? Because
Oh yeah,
you've held it up a couple of times. Learning to be me, lessons and perspectives. I love the kid in the chalkboard in the classroom.
yeah. I can give a good on that. How that came about too.
Well, I would love to hear that story if you could throw
Okay,
it in there. I'm curious,
yeah.
what that, where that came from.
So, so the thought about this book was me speaking to the younger me. So in this is the older version of me, older than I am now, thank you, but and the younger me. So I'm standing at the chalkboard, telling my younger self, teaching my younger self how to be me.
Nice.
So it's coming from that place. I was working with an editor and I told her that's what I want. Like that's what I want the cover to convey. I want it to be like I'm talking to my younger self and learning all the things in advance
Mm,
of my life. And I'm hoping that that's what people can take from the book is getting insight, maybe even for their kids, maybe high schoolish, to before they go out to college or something like that, or when they're in high school, kind of giving them some insight so that they go out into life better equipped to
nice.
live.
Nice. I think people have kind of an idea of what the book is about, which is cool. And again, I don't want to give away the secret sauce to the book or anything like that, but there was one more thing that was in your bio that really grabbed my attention when I read it, and I wanted to ask you about it, and I want to give you the get out of jail free card right now. If this is like, hey, I don't want to give this away, you got to buy the book. No, no harm, no foul. We'll just move right on. But you mentioned something about the power of embracing emptiness. And that's been rattling around in my brain since like you and I booked the appointment to come talk to each other. And I read that. Can you address that one?
I can. That's also in the book, but I will.
If it's too much,
So
it's totally
it's
fine.
not.
Just give them a little surface
It
about it.
it is a little more significant in the book, but a lot of times we try to fill every void, and we fill it from a place of not being enough. We fill it from a place of I got to accomplish the next thing, and we never take the time to appreciate the space in between. So when we have space, when we have a feeling of emptiness, we have space for growth. If we filled every space, where does growth happen? It can't. So we constantly come from a place of trying to do more, be more, see more, achieve more. And
Hmm.
that's kind of the gist of
All right, I
that
got it.
topic. But
That was enough of a snack. I feel like
yeah.
I can make it to reading the book now. Okay, I got you, got you, got you. And I don't want to give it away anything else that's in the book because I mean, there's a lot of other awesome points here, man, that I think people really need to kind of dig into on their own. I am
Yeah.
curious. You mentioned you had an editor. You mentioned to me in the pre-interview that you had self-published.
Yes.
Did you look into like traditional publishing and then choose self-publishing, or did you just go right to self-publishing? And then how did the editor come into play?
So actually, I had spoke with a couple of authors, and I had looked into trying to do a publishing house or something along those lines. I just didn't feel like it would connect with my message. I wanted authenticity to be the reigning message.
Mhm.
I wanted people to want to be themselves, and I felt like if I gave that to a publishing house, I was giving away some of my own authenticity because they would be taking away and kind of telling me what I can and can't put in there.
For sure. Yeah.
So, in hiring my own editor, I was able to say when they took things out, nope, that's going in there. That is a point I want made, and we're losing something if we take that out. Where in some publishing houses, you don't have that ultimate say. So hiring somebody independent of that, I was able to do that and be able to work through that process with them. And it was very helpful because they were able to give me insights that I didn't have going in, having never self-published anything before. Um, Everybody's like, "Oh, you just put it on Amazon." It's not that quick. It's not that easy.
Not that
It's
easy.
not. It's not. And it doesn't happen overnight, and that can be another frustration. You think, "Okay, I put all these words on paper. I got the message. Ta-da!
Nope.
No." And I had to learn so much along with that, like the copywriting aspects, getting the ISBN numbers, and all of the other boring stuff that happens behind the scenes
Right.
before the book makes it out that nobody really talks about.
Right. Exactly. Well, obviously it's available in hardcover because you're holding one up, for
Yep.
the folks who are, watching the video version. Is it also an ebook? Did you do the audiobook yet?
Yes. So there's no audiobook yet. There's an ebook available, and not sure when this will be released, but the middle of July is about the end of the free Kindle Unlimited.
Ah,
If they have Kindle Unlimited, they can get it for free through mid-July. But if they don't, I believe it's 4.99 for the ebook,
okay.
and then there's paperback and hardcover copy, which going back to the whole book processing, the hardcover copy is a whole different thing. They don't tell you that. Like ebook is one thing, the paperback copy covers a different thing. It
Hmm.
all has to be formatted differently. And so
Right.
yeah, it seemed like one punch after another. Like, okay, well, we got this done. Well, we got to do this. Ugh, okay, how much is that going to cost?
Right.
And every step, it was like, oh, well, now that we got this done, we got to do this. But I thought we were, no, no, we got to get this accomplished and then we can get to that. Okay.
Exactly. And it's funny because you can put out, an unedited, unformatted, ebook and have it look like garbage and have it be done quick,
Yeah.
and cost hardly anything, or you
Yeah.
can actually put out a book and then it does actually cost some money and takes a lot of time and you have to jump through all the hoops. So,
Yeah.
how long did it take you from like the time you sat down and said, I'm going to start writing a book to the time that it just came out?
So it was about 8 months writing it. Um, and when I initially had it put together, it was over 50,000 words. And then my editor went in there and said, well, some of these things are overlapping concepts, so we can bring this down into more unified themes. And so it got cut about down to two-thirds after editing, from some of the content and some of the ways that I had navigated it. And every time they made a change, I went back through and read the whole book. Every time they made another change, I went back through and looked at the formatting. Um, that was one of my critiques of a lot of books is you get to reading through it and there's really bad grammatical errors, there's spelling that's really off or something like that, and you kind of get distracted from the message of the book because you're like, did they really put that in there? That doesn't make any sense. Or it can just be unappealing to the eye and it throws off people. So I wanted to make sure that the message was presented in a way that visually worked as well. So that was important to me as well, to get the message out, but in a way that wasn't going to distract from it.
Nice. Nice. All right. So the ebook free thing ends, the Kindle Unlimited ends middle of July. That's going to be close to when this is coming out. So people who hear this time may miss the free one, but we're going
Yeah.
to have, links in there to your Facebook and stuff like that, and hopefully to the book itself too. If I can,
Yeah.
grab that
Yeah.
from you, we'll get that loaded up. Because I've seen that on your Facebook profile too. The link
Yes,
right
yes,
to the book.
I try to keep it on there,
Sure.
and it's on pretty much every short video, and I try to inspire people in the video to kind of think a little, Facebook, to think a little deeper on a question about life or about something that's going on with them in that day. And ironically enough, most of those videos are kind of just pushed through together. If you see me wearing the same shirt and 5 videos, just know that they were all recorded on the same day. They just got distributed over multiple days. Because that's been the war in my head. People are gonna look at that like, he really likes that shirt. He wears it every day.
Oh my
But
gosh.
no, I recorded them all at the same time and I just released them over time. Because
Got it.
everybody needs to process things in uh, bite-sized information these days. So it helps to give them a little time to process it, think about the question, and dive into it. And I love when people engage with the content and ask questions or give reflections on what it means to them. That really uh, makes what I do even more worth it.
Nice, nice. And you do share a lot on the Facebook account. The
Yes, I
Facebook
do.
account is Derrick Henderson author page.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
for everybody. So Derrick Henderson author page. I follow it, and you put out a lot of good content. I noticed you even were like, I'm not sure when it came out, but it was because I just started following it. But it was like a minute and a half of just a couple of thoughts you were having. Like you had the headset on and stuff, and you were
yes,
like, "Hey, you know what?" And you just like shared that real quick. So some of it is just impromptu. Like, "Hey, I'm sitting down
yes.
and sharing this thought." Is that how that goes?
Yeah, that's primarily how it goes. It's either a thought. I also created a little short story that I put on there that I called Angel Hair. That one's had some nice feedback. It wasn't anything that I published. It was just my attempt. One day I sat down and said, "Can I write an impactful story in less than 600 words?" And it came out, and I'm like, I really like this. And so I read it on camera. But yeah, aside from that, most of the things are just impromptu conversation starters that I would like to engage people with, and I really enjoy those interactions. It really means a lot when somebody engages with me on the content or says how it affects them. That's what I've loved so much about the book is getting to hear stories back from people about how it gave them perspectives they never considered,
Right.
like how they grew up or things that they do now that they never really understood why, but they just thought that was part of them, and how getting that insight from the book really made them understand themselves better, which hooray, that's what I was going for.
There you go. Mission accomplished. Yeah,
Yes,
that tracks. I mean, that makes sense because your Facebook account really is a much more personal look at you,
yes,
and behind the scenes of the author of the book. And so it makes sense that people that were following that would feel comfortable to share something personal because, I'm sure they feel like they're connecting with you. You're very open on there. You share a lot of thoughts. It's really cool. Not everybody can do that on social media. They're so
that's
afraid of what
true.
everybody's going to think of them that I applaud your bravery, in doing that. That's cool.
Yeah, it definitely was a process to get there, and to get comfortable in my own skin enough to do stuff like this. But once you can connect with people, and once people respond to you and say, "Hey, this stuff really means something to me," it really does reinforce the value of giving it out, and knowing that people are getting something from what I'm sharing
Yeah.
really inspires me to do it more and even be more open and more available to help people. And it's definitely something I feel called to do, and I'm glad I get to do it in this forum.
Nice. Love that. Love that. And you definitely seem like you've been called to do it. So it just resonates all over you. Definitely authentic sitting here with me. I appreciate that too. There's really just there's nothing fake about you, man. I mean, from all the work I've done checking you out and everything else, you really laid it out there. And so I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the book. I think a lot of other people are too. Thanks for doing things the way you're doing them.
Really do. I appreciate that, and I look forward to the feedback. That's my favorite part about it.
Oh yeah.
The book's only been out since May 1st, so um, a lot of my initial was just family and friends, but it's growing beyond that now, and being able to get more people that I don't know directly or aren't friends of friends of friends
Right.
that have checked it out will be a great tool to get the information out there for more people to live a more authentic life. And
Wonderful.
my favorite quote is "We grow together," because we truly do. If we we can't grow individually. One person cannot solve all the problems of the world. One person can't do everything. One person can't be everything. And so every interaction is a chance to share our message, and every interaction is a chance for us to grow. And if you go into every aspect of your life that way, if you look at everything as a lesson, look at another perspective from somebody that you might not have originally agreed with, or they might share some kind of insight that you never thought of. It's just wild when you get out there how much you can really see and grow when you're open to it.
Nice. All right. I mean, wow, I love that. As we kind of pull this together and wrap this up, I always, end with this question. And that is there anything that I didn't ask you? Anything we missed? Anything that we talked about, but you want to drive home a little further, or leave behind or a nugget, for the audience? I'm going to give you the floor for a couple minutes. You just actually wrapped beautifully, so if you want to just mic drop it on that one, feel free. But I'm sure you got something else in there that you've been brewing on. So the floor is yours for the last minute or two, sir. Go for it.
All right. So the one thing I would encourage, the one thing I want everybody to know is you're not alone. You're not. Everybody has different experiences. Everybody has different emotions. Everybody's had different sufferings. And a lot of times we get so confused or so perplexed with how somebody else could be a certain way. And we have to realize that it's not how they are, it's how we're perceiving them. And when we can come from a genuine place in ourselves and know that everybody that we're interacting with is going through their own battles, everybody's interacting from a place of all their experiences up until now. when you can engage with them in an authentic way and they know that you're not judging them for every little thing because you too know you're flawed. You go into the conversation and you get to be genuine and they get to be genuine and the connection actually matters. That's what we need more in this world. We need more empathy. We need more people to connect with one another in a real, authentic way and know that they're not alone. You're not alone in any of this. You can reach out. There are people that are wanting to help. There are people that genuinely care about you, even if you're telling yourself there's not. And if you can get into any men's group, I would encourage that. Um, if you're a connoisseur of coffee, I definitely encourage the coffee. And if you are just genuinely wanting connection, I'd encourage you to check out the Facebook page and engage with my conversation there. And I will respond. If it gets too crazy, it might take me a little longer to respond. But I will respond, and I do enjoy every interaction I get to have with everyone. So I think that would pretty much cover it today.
All right. I love that. That's a great way to end. That's a great mic drop right there. That's perfect. So, all right. Business owner, father, grandfather, husband, author of the book Learning to Be Me, Lessons and Perspectives, Derrick Henderson. Check out the Facebook page, Derrick Henderson author page. Derrick, thank you, brother, for coming on and saying everything you had to say, telling everybody all this great stuff, and for writing this book that I think is going to help a lot of folks. Really appreciate you, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate being on here and getting the message out. Thank you very much as well.
Thanks. Folks, that's been another episode of the Power Man podcast. And, like Derrick just said, you are not alone. And the reason that we bring powerful men like this on here to deliver these powerful messages is to let you know that, to let you know that you're not alone, to let you know that we completely support you in your mission to become a better provider, a better protector, a better leader tomorrow than you are today, to become a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better grandfather tomorrow than you are today. Folks, the reason that we want that for you is because you matter, you have value, and you're worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.